What's up? It's Guru Jojo, and in this video, I want to talk about a subject that I want to basically start teaching on this channel, and it's astropsychology. So basically, I'm gonna be starting live videos. They're gonna be scheduled. Probably they're either gonna be scheduled on the times are gonna change, but it's usually gonna be between 6 and 8 p.m. at night, and they're basically going to be live sessions most of the time, and they could be like interactive and everything, and it's just something that I want to start teaching because these subjects are very similar and they can be very helpful for other people to understand themselves and also to understand others. And I think it can be used, I think it would be great to incorporate in like therapeutic sessions and stuff to help others, because basically, like, if you got somebody's birth charts, astrology is very different from horoscopes. Horoscopes are more for entertainment purposes. Astrology is basically the study of human behavior, the mind, like how our personalities are based upon astrological alignments. Now, I don't want to get too deep into it in this video because it takes about an hour of teaching to understand how this even came about, because there's so many different sections in astrology. There's like whole sign astrology, there's tropical, there's Vedic astrology, there's porphyry. There's so many different types. Placidus is the system that I use. And I've used other systems. They're accurate too, but just like for the purpose of the type of astrology that I use, like the purpose for why I use astrology and whatnot, the Placidus and the tropical system seems to be the most beneficial for me. And this has to do with the more so with the weather, the tropical system. So it has to do with like the equinoxes, the precision of the equinoxes. So anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that in this video. I really just want to focus upon the similarities between psychology and astrology. So psychology is the study of the human mind. I also want to dive a little bit into philosophy here too, but psychology is the study of the human mind, human behavior, and the meaning and reasoning behind the human mind and behavior. So this is different from the brain. I understand the brain as just being like the human body part, the actual anatomy, and then the functioning of that anatomy. The mind is more so the reflection of that. So we have a brain, it functions, but like, why does it influence this type of behavior? So it's like the reflection. So now philosophy is the study of how we ought to behave, how we ought to be. So this has to do more so with like governmental principles and stuff, in my opinion, but it has to do with religion basically, and it has to do with spirituality as well. But in this day and age, what I'm seeing it as more so as like constructs that are created that we're supposed to abide by, whereas spirituality is more deep. It looks behind things, which would be at odds. Now here's the thing. So with that being said, psychology is the study of the human mind and behavior. Astrology is the study of the human mind and behavior according to astrological alignments. Psychology is the study of human mind and behavior according to psychological theories, and also, psychological theories. So with that being said, you can see already how they're pretty much very similar. Like astrology could be like literally a theory in psychology. Why? Because it's a science, and a science is a pattern. That's something else a lot of people forget. Like, just because for some reason our system here, we don't see astrology as a conventional method for anything, doesn't mean that it's not. Because at the end of the day, I see what a science is, and a science is simply a study of a pattern that makes sense. And if they could take a group of individuals with a disease or with a similar health alignment or a health misalignment, and if they could study these people, right, take them, give them a medicine, and see the pattern of physiological changes, and then go ahead and conclude that medication as being a health treatment or not. And then they have the authority to now prescribe that to people with similar health issues. That's taking a pattern that was concluded as having like integrity, and then using that to literally give it to us like as treatments and stuff. So it's like, what makes astrology any different? Astrology is the study of literally like human behavior according to astrological alignments. Back in the day, the ancient people, they literally studied the stars. They studied the celestial bodies. Over time, it's like people realized that there was not everyone now. There was groups of people who realized, okay, like during World War II. Now I'm making this up. I'm not good at history at all. So I'm just giving an example so you can understand. They noticed that during traumatic events that we've experienced, there was certain alignments in the sky, right? And they're like, okay, we see that alignment, somebody documented it, right? And then they noticed that during another traumatic event that was quite similar to a previous one, the same type of alignment was in the sky. So then, and this was probably way back in ancient times. And so then that's how they were able to see, like, remember, everything is macro, micro, nano. What's to be true on a broad scale, so that would be a global event, right, is to be true on a smaller scale. So then you're able to see like if this could be true for smaller things, which would be human beings and just like smaller societies or whatever. So you see how it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, it's literally, they studied a pattern that happened, and then they studied a pattern that occurred, and then they documented it and noticed that when another pattern occurred, the same astral alignment occurred, they documented it, and then they tested it on a smaller scale, like a person getting into a fight or in a car accident. It's kind of similar to maybe like a war. And they noticed that it was a similar astrological alignment. That's a pattern. Science is just a study of patterns. That's it. And that's the reason why, too, science is at odds with religion, because science is the study of patterns. It's the study of details. Religion is the study of how we ought to be. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're not supposed to ask for details. He said it. That's how it is. It's a masculine principle. There's a ruler and you follow that ruler. But on the other side, science says, well, I want to know why it got that way in the first place. So that's why it goes into details and stuff. And that's why they say the devil's in the details, you see? So that would be at odds with religion, supposedly. So anyways, in other words, I want to explain how astrology and psychology are actually pretty much the same thing. So your first chapter in psychology, I want to say most people learn it this way. I personally did. They teach you about Sigmund Freud. Now, Sigmund Freud's theory, a part of it is one of the first things they teach you is like this ice cube theory. I could have got the name wrong, but it literally is a picture of an ice cube. Not an ice cube. It's not a picture of an ice cube. I meant to say a iceberg. An iceberg. I think it's yes, an iceberg. It's iceberg. So it's a picture of an iceberg, and he splits the iceberg. So I'm going to be providing two pictures of the iceberg theory. Sigmund Freud's organization of the id, ego, and superego versus the way that I see it, because they're actually different, and it's going to be different in the way that I'm about to explain it in the video. So basically, I see the id as being connected to the conscious mind, the things that we're consciously aware of, the things that are basically satisfying our basic survival needs on a conscious level. The ego, to me, is the lower natures of a person that has to do with evil frequencies, of things that have to do with supporting one's fears and insecurities, which this usually comes from the lower natures of human behavior. And then the super ego is more so connected to the more godly frequencies of seeing things in a more positive light, of having optimism. So this would be at the center, even though it's at a more heightened state of thought. It's not physically at a heightened state of thought because it's not something that's physically brought to our conscious awareness. It's subconsciously influenced. So it would be at the center. That's just, I guess, my own way of seeing the iceberg. No, the id. Theory. So the id, the superego, and the ego. In astrology, you have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. Just like in psychology, you have the id, the superego, and the ego, which in psychology you also have the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious mind. So your id, your conscious mind, has a lot to do with getting your basic needs under control. So then you got your superego, which has to do with your subconscious mind. This basically has to do with anything that gives moral to something. So I really think the subconscious mind is connected to the frequency of God. It's basically our God consciousness. Is where we are receiving positive information that provides fidelity. So this is when you're influenced indirectly of having confidence in something. So this is like this is basically at odds with the ego, which has to do with the unconscious mind, which is when you're indirectly influenced to feel negatively about something, insecure about something, judging something as being infidel, as having infidelity. So, for example, the ego is gonna look at my video, right? And see that I don't look at the camera. And then, so now it automatically is pre-assuming that I'm not having fidelity. So it automatically puts a person possibly in a state of insecurity, and therefore they automatically have not heard the messages that I'm bringing. So then it's like a continuous. So then what happens is the person will have a continuous desire to look at the video, to look for more insecurities in order to confirm that bias. Subconscious mind is going to look for anything positive that I'm doing, which could be like maybe what I'm saying, and then that subconsciously influences them to feel confident about what I'm saying as it having fidelity. And therefore now they're going to keep looking for anything that's going to consciously influence their mind to continue to feel positive about me or about the videos. So that's like the difference between the superego and the subconscious mind versus the ego and the unconscious mind. The ego has to do a lot more like with devil-like demonic natures, because you're looking at all the negative things of something because of your own like ego issues, basically. So we all do both. Some people do it way more than others, especially if it's like something that somebody else wants to do. If their ego is not constructed in a good way, or if their ego has been damaged in some way, then they're gonna look for anything just to relieve that pain that they may have from. So do you get what I'm saying? I just don't, it's like, I'll go over this more in like the future videos, but these are the differences, and these are what influences our behaviors. And that's why it's like a main component of the similarities between astrology and psychology, because the different structures of our mind, this influences human behavior is what I'm trying to say. Also too, you in the beginning when you learn psychology, you learn about defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are the same thing as behaviors that we express from the ego. So from feelings of insecurity, basically. So that's pretty much what I want to say in this video. These fields of studies are literally they beautifully go together. And so that's what I'm going to be teaching. Another reason why I'm going to be teaching this is because when I did go to college, I graduated, I got a bachelor's degree. Unfortunately, and I studied psychology basically. So unfortunately, I didn't continue my studies just because school was very hard. It was very difficult for me to graduate anyway. I'm blessed to have been able to, but I worked really hard. Like I barely spoke to people. Like I just like really tried to like pass my classes so I can graduate. But I have a lot of trouble taking like multiple choice exams. I'm just not. Once you start, first of all, they're gonna sit there on these tests, right? First is it's either A, B, C, or D, or none of the above, or no, or all of the above. And like 99% of the time, if they put all the above, is all of the above. So like this method was quite simple. But then it's like when I got to college, they started adding on these exams E and F. Like, so it could now be A, B, C, D, E, which is all of the above. Then they would add like none of the above. And then they would add, it could be A and B, or like A, B, and C. It was just like too much. And I'm just like, yo, y'all confusing me now. And then they add too many questions. It's like 60 questions per exam. I don't got time for that. And you don't even get enough time. Like, it just be a lot of, so I just like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, so anyways, I studied, psychology during my undergrad, and I have a bachelor's degree. And then I ended up, like, I tried to be, a psychiatric nurse. So I started nursing classes, and like, I just said how I am with tests, so it didn't work out. And then I pretty much ended up studying just like different spiritual topics. And my mom is a very religious person, so she taught me a lot. You know, she just basically like, so she subconsciously influenced me to like read the Bible and all that stuff. And you know, I took CCD classes, I like had confirmation and all that stuff. So I always just been very gravitated towards like religion and spirituality. But then I went and I kind of broke away from what I was taught and to find my own self. So I went within, so I broke the constructs of religion. So that's why I consider myself to be a spiritual person instead. And then I pretty much studied astrology for about 3 years. So boom, I'm connecting the two things that I studied together. So yeah, thank you for watching. Blessings, love, and light to everyone.